Hi, I'm Pastor Genette Howard, and I want to tell you a quick story. It's a real personal story, and I hope that it's going to help you on your journey to becoming all that God created you to be. A few years ago, our family was agonizing over a decision that really could change not only our life, but the life of a lot of other people. And it was concerning our family and our ministry moving to Charlotte, North Carolina to start another church in Charlotte, North Carolina. We were in the decision-making process of moving from Fayetteville, Arkansas, where we have a thriving and growing church, to Charlotte, North Carolina to start another church after over 20 years of being in the Northwest Arkansas community. My husband in particular had been wrestling over this decision for a long time, and honestly it was creating a lot of mental turmoil for him. It was really had him some days in a dark place, just trying to make the decision. The call from God was clear, but he just didn't have the courage at the time to step out and do what he believed, and I agree, that God was calling our family to do. At that particular time, I had traveled to Lagos, Nigeria for the first time. It was my first time going overseas to speak. It was a wonderful experience. I saw the bigness of the world. I realized there are 7 billion people on the planet, and that God even was calling me to do something bigger. And when I got back from that trip, as soon as I got rested, I went to visit my mother, who is wasn't and still is in a nursing home there in Arkansas. She has Alzheimer's and dementia, and she was accustomed to me coming frequently, and I had been in Africa for about a week, and I knew she was going to get a little irritated if she didn't see my face soon. So as soon as I got rested up from my trip from Africa, I decided to go to visit my mother. It was about 7:00 p.m. I knew I was taking a risk that she might be asleep, but I decided to go anyway. Well, surely enough, when I got to her room, her door was closed, and I opened the door up, and she was fast asleep. She just had her night meds and she was asleep. She had her little lamp on beside her, but she was asleep. And so I peeked in there and I decided, oh, she's asleep, I don't want to wake her up. I was going to just tiptoe out of the room, and her eyes popped open. She looked over and she saw me. She said, oh, Jen, my nickname Jen. She said, Jen, don't leave, stay, come on in. And I said, well, Mom, I don't want to wake you up. She said, it's okay, come on in. Where you been? What you been doing? And I said, actually, I just got back from Africa. She said, oh, Africa. And we talked a little bit about Africa, and she was very, very drowsy because she was on night meds, and she has Alzheimer's. So I decided at that moment, because I had this decision about Charlotte so heavy on my brain, it was such a big thing. I couldn't talk to anybody else because my husband had sworn me to secrecy. I couldn't talk to anybody else, so I decided I was going to talk to my mom, because she won't remember what I said the next day anyway. And if she did say something to somebody, nobody would believe her. And so I just decided I'm going to talk to my mom about this whole Charlotte thing and this decision that we're having, that we need to make, and we needed to make it quickly. So I started the conversation with her. Even in her drowsiness, I decided I would go ahead and talk to her just to get it out of me. And I said, Mom, we're thinking about moving to Charlotte to start another church. She said, is that right? I said, yes. I said, Dexter is really struggling with the decision, but he's unhappy right now. And she looked at me and she said this to me. She said, life is too short to be unhappy, Jen. God wants his children to be happy. And she fell asleep. And I kind of leaned in and I began to talk a little bit more. I said, but Mom, if we go to Charlotte, who's going to take care of the church in Northwest Arkansas here? We love these people. Who's going to help the people here? Who's going to pastor this church? Who's going to take care of the church here? What if we leave and things fall apart here? I began to just pour out my heart. And my mom, she opened up her eyes and she said, you know, sometimes we've got to move on so other people can move up. God's got somebody, and you never know, they might do it better than you. At this point, I leaned in because I realized I was no longer talking to my mother who had Alzheimer's and dementia. I realized that I was getting counseling from heaven. And then she said a third thing that really sealed the deal for me. The third thing she said was, all I can say is this: if God is leading you, it is for the bigger and the better. And at that point, she fell fast asleep. The conversation was over, and I was sitting there in tears. I realized that I had had a counseling session with heaven. Those 3 truths have become hallmarks in my life at this point. And these 3 things I know to be sure. God wants his children to be happy. Life is too short to be unhappy. When we are doing what is fulfilling, and when we are happy, we are our best selves, and success is inevitable. The second thing she said that has made such a huge difference in my life, and I know to be true, sometimes we've got to move on so other people can move up. And then the third thing she said that I know to be true now, and it's proven to be true in this move for us to Charlotte: if God is leading you, it is for the bigger and the better. I'm so grateful for that counseling session from heaven. Of course, my mother doesn't remember saying a word of that, but I'll never forget it. I hope this has helped you today. God bless you.